Wouldn't it be weird if like aliens came down and they didn't have the ability to really envision something in their imagination, and then they come to Earth and we're just sitting here hallucinating while staring at dead trees, and they just get freaked out and leave? That would be ideal. They could just leave. Do aliens freak you out?
I am kind of excited to learn more about aliens, and hopefully they do exist, but there's so much potential for things to go wrong for us that I'm just kind of okay with it being like a fantasy sci-fi like possibility story.
What are your thoughts on aliens?
I say bring it.
I think the aliens are going to be so not what we're used to, that, or they're going to be humans. It'll either be humans or it's going to be so super not what we're used to, so that way we won't even recognize them as life forms.
Well, good thing that Elon Musk made those fire blasters, because we'll be ready for them.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, a little boring like flamethrowers and stuff.
Boring flamethrowers.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's from the Boring Company, because he made the Boring drill, and
I forgot about that.
yeah, it's the Boring Company.
Did you know that legally you can add a flamethrower to your car? There's no rules against it.
Mm-hmm. You can't add a shooting weapon like a pew pew pew, but you can add a flamethrower. There's nothing against it.
That's badass.
Yeah.
I think it's.
So for our podcast mobile,
I
that's
mean,
what we need to add.
I've seen them use those flamethrowers, but they're on like the ground, because that you lay down the strip of paint and then you flamethrower it to make sure that it stays there. I guess I don't know how paint works.
Yeah, I've seen that on the road repair machines as they're going by. And sometimes there's just guys with flamethrowers behind them, just.
Yeah, but sometimes there's one mounted to
Yeah.
the thing, but all you have to do is turn it outward, and thieves go bye-bye.
Yeah, you could have a car with a flamethrower versus one of those trucks with the spikes on the wheels poking out. You know those ones?
Oh,
with
yeah.
the 18-wheelers that have the attack spikes.
These
Oh, yeah.
sound a lot like the Mad Max cars, and there's that like convention type thing.
Ooh,
Wasteland.
It's out in the
Yeah.
desert, right?
Wasteland
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
That would be crazy to go to. I don't know if I would do a whole weekend there, but definitely just to like experience a little bit of it. But I mean,
It
That's
seems heck of
crazy.
fun. I know a couple people who go like every year,
Wow.
and it sounds like
a lifestyle.
a commitment. Yeah, a lifestyle sounds about right.
Imagine driving your car out there, and you've already rigged up your car to look like Mad Max, and you're wearing the outfit while you're driving out there.
Yeah,
that
that'd
would be amazing. And then you just go through the drive-through at
like
a,
McDonald's.
like a McDonald's, and they see this Mad Max person drive up, the guy up on top of the car that's been jamming out the whole time on his guitar. He's just got the bugs in his teeth and stuff.
The
He's
guitar shoots
Can
flames.
I get a Diet Coke?
I didn't think about that. I guess that's probably why they wear goggles.
Mhm.
That would be
and so they can
tactical.
huff paint.
That too.
What else are you gonna do in the wasteland?
I mean, huff and
That's
paint.
where you get your strength. Isn't that Mad Max when they spray paint their faces?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they get all hyped up,
Yeah.
ready to rage.
And then they have the wall of steering wheels or something like that they pulled from, or if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I saw that one.
I saw that movie in theaters. I didn't get it because there was absolutely no dialogue, but I was still this is so cool. But I didn't realize that there was a whole thing before that movie, because that's a sequel to an original old school Mad Max.
Yeah, there's Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome,
And
which
then
are
isn't there a
wildly
comic
different.
too?
Oh, I'm sure there is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a franchise.
Mm.
It died for a while, but it's still a franchise.
No, it's
That movie brought it back.
Yeah, that movie was fun. I don't really like action movies all that much in general, and so I wasn't expecting to like this one, but I was the whole time just edge of my seat, jaw to the floor, what is happening? Welcome to Dog-Eared Discourse, a nerdy little double date where we talk about the book we're reading and where we left off. Each month we're pulling a new and exciting book from our shelf. We've broken them down so you can buddy read with us or just hang out while we discuss, predict, and nerd out. If you want to read along, right now we're reading The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. On this episode, we're talking about up to Chapter 9. We did not start Chapter 9. We finished Chapter 8. That is page 153 was our last page. Danny, do you want to tell us who the main people are so far before I jump into the 60-second synopsis?
Sure. So our main character is a unicorn, and she believes that she is the last unicorn, and she goes on a journey. On her journey, she meets the characters Mommy Fortuna, who runs a shady traveling menagerie, Schmendrick the magician, Captain Coley, who's a leader of the outlaws, Molly Grew, who is his bodyguard, and maybe a little bit more, and the Red Bull. So, Kelly, are you ready for the 60-second recap of the first half of the book?
I got the timer ready.
Nice.
I'm ready. Chris
All
has
right.
the timer. I'm ready with the recap. Okay.
3, 2, 1, go!
Okay, so our main character, the unicorn, meets a butterfly while she's just hanging out, and he tells her that he thinks that she's the last unicorn. So she doesn't believe him and goes off in search of potential other unicorns. She gets captured by a traveling menagerie, the circus. She is freed by one of the workers at the menagerie, Schmendrick the magician, and he ends up joining her on her quest. She's looking for the Red Bull, who might have seen the other
30 seconds.
unicorns. They pick up another friend, Molly, and they make it to the castle where the Red Bull supposedly is, and also another king who is supposedly his owner. Schmendrick, the Red Bull attacks the
15
unicorn.
seconds.
Schmendrick the magician turns the unicorn into a human girl to try to
10,
save her, and
9,
she is not
8,
happy to
7,
suddenly be
6,
mortal.
Wow. You did
3,
it before the
2,
ending.
1, done!
Wow.
Ding, 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 ding. Take note of this day. It will never happen again, but we made it through the 60-second recap.
We made it through. Yay!
Huzzah!
Congratulations. Well, that was surprising.
Ooh.
Now, we are drinking some excellent drinks that are themed for the first half of this book. Y'all want to tell us what they are?
Sure. So this is the caged unicorn, and what we've got going on here is about 1 3/4 ounces of rum, a white rum, about 1/4 ounce of lemon juice, about 1/4 ounce of simple syrup, and about 3/4 ounce of orgeat, which is and I have no idea if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's like an almond syrup. And then you shake that over ice, pour it into a chilled glass, and then top that with a bubbles, as in champagne style, bubbly. We used a brut, to kind of balance out a little bit of the sweetness. And surprisingly, it tastes like there's tequila in it, but there isn't. It's a surprising thing, but it's very tasty.
That it is. It kind of, yeah, now that you mention it, it really does. Maybe it's the almond with the citrus or something.
I have no idea what caused that to happen, but it tastes like Vegas. And I only drink tequila in Vegas.
Then, my friend, you're not drinking tequila.
It tastes really light and like summery.
That's
and
true.
I think that that's the right vibe for this book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it really did fit the book. I was hoping for something more white-ish because of the color of the unicorn, but it came out unicorn-ish colored.
No, it's got a little bit of color to it because her worldview has been slightly modified by her new information that there might not be any other unicorns, so she's feeling a little darkness in her soul.
After she got captured by Madame Fortuna.
Yeah, ooh.
All right, let's cheers, everybody.
Cheers! Ding, ding.
So one of the first things that happens to the unicorn is that she goes off on her journey. She's like, okay, if I'm the only one, I better confirm that I'm the only one. And so she goes off, wanders around, takes a nap, and when she wakes up, she's been captured by this traveling carnival. The lady who catches her is named Mommy Fortuna. They do a pretty good job of like putting on a show. I felt like all things considered, like, yeah, they're capturing all these animals kind of cruelly, but the show sounds like if you didn't know the truth of what was going on,
Sounds dope.
I want to know. Really cool to go to.
I want to know how much they're charging, because
Yeah,
if I saw that, I'd be willing to pay a lot to go see it.
these little guys roll up into town. They're like, "Hey, you want to see a manticore?" We're like, "All right, yeah, sure, whatever."
Oh yeah, she's got a manticore. She's got a harpy. She's got a satyr.
A serpent that encircles
Satyr.
the world. Satyr. Satyr. Satyr.
Dragon, a Cerberus, serpent?
Cerebellum.
A cerebellum. That's a
Not one of those.
three-headed dog.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the three-headed dog that guards some.
That
thing.
guards Hogwarts. I
Not-
mean, hell.
It's the afterlife.
That makes
Can't
more
be
sense than
discriminatory.
cerebellum.
Yeah, yeah, that does.
Oh, it all comes clear.
But yeah, if they were charging like almost nothing, and they roll into town, I'd be like, you know what? These could be all fake, but I'm gonna go see it because I'm a bored peasant. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a traveling circus, so it kind of makes it more exclusive. It's not like, oh, I can just go to that weird mythical zoo anytime I want. No, you have to just cross your fingers and hope that it moseys into town.
Although, if it was a permanent zoo, can you imagine being bored with mythical creatures?
Oh my
Gotta
god.
go see Sasquatch again? Whatever.
That's how I feel like the kids at Hogwarts were when they were like, "Oh, it's a hippogriff again."
Yeah.
Like, dude, it's a freaking hippogriff.
Right.
Yeah, fly on a broomstick. Man, I'm good. It's like, come on,
Old
guy.
news.
That was my favorite part of the book, I think, just because not only was it a traveling sort of circus, they were like made out of like shadowy magic, and everyone was just super shady, and it was like almost like a goth circus. It wasn't like a happy-go-lucky, like, oh, everyone's in bright colors and everyone's smiling. No, it is like super shady, dark, like everyone's like overworked, and these animals are unhappy and not really being taken care of. But I don't know, I kind of like.
I mean, there's one happy one, the spider.
Yeah, the spider was having a good time.
She
Yeah.
was delusional.
Well, yes, because spiders have tiny brains. But
Oh,
yeah,
I
she
understand.
believed the illusion, and so that's why she, I found the end of that chapter to be particularly heartbreaking when, they scuttle off, and what happens, and the last part of it says something along the lines of, and there was silence in the camp except for the soft sound of one spider weeping.
I thought that it was really interesting how devoted Mommy Fortuna was to this little circus, because she really ran the show. I have a feeling that both of her employees, there were only 2 employees, one of them, the magician, was he like an indentured servant or something? How did he get trapped there?
I mean, I don't think he was trapped. He was just chilling with them.
He seemed super unhappy.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, it seemed like maybe he was trying to basically like tag along with whatever or whoever to see if he could reveal something or
Yeah, because that was
he
probably
could
the
feel something.
best that he could do at that time, because his magic was unreliable. And so if he could work with people like Mommy Fortuna, who was actually very talented in what she was able to do, he could still have some sort of either standing as a magician, or even if it was kind of like fake, or she didn't believe that he was a real magician. Yeah, I guess it was just for the company, for people to view him as a magician, even when his magic failed him.
Yeah, and it's revealed later on that he's an immortal, and
He's cursed to be an immortal.
he's cursed to be an immortal. No, I wouldn't say cursed. He is spelled to be an immortal. There's a difference between a curse and a spell, because I mean, it was one of those where the wizard specifically cast it on him, and he's like, "Here's a spell to make you immortal. Go find your magic. Once you find your magic, you're gonna die, or stop being immortal, rather." And so he's been around a while. So if I was a dude who'd been around for a while and all I could pull off was some cheap magic tricks, I'd find a traveling circus and then be like, well, they don't know the difference between, sleight of hand and I'm pulling a fish out of my ear.
Yeah, this actually is different from our last book that we read, Uprooted, where any mages or wizards or anybody who could do magic was actually immortal. Like they just if not immortal, they lived a really, really long time. So I think it's interesting that he had the spell put on him that it was like, oh, as soon as you do become a proper magician and you do find magic that you can use on the regular, then I'm taking away your immortality.
Yeah, it's maybe that is more like a curse then, I guess. One thing I really like about both the first chapter and then going into Madame Fortuna was the mixing of the mundane and the fantastic. One of the first things that the unicorn said was that she's killed dragons, healed kings, and knocked down chestnuts for bear cubs. And so she just like put those three things together in a sentence as if they all had the same weight. And I thought that was really neat. Like there's magic in the mundane. And that is something that's prevalent throughout the entire first half of the book, where everything, you have a dog in a cage, but to the viewers, even though there's a spell put on it, it looks like Cerberus.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that really quick. There was the menagerie was not actually magical creatures. It was actually a much more powerful wizard than Schmendrick was Mommy Fortuna, who was doing a spell of seeming on all of the animals except for the harpy, because everybody for some reason saw the unicorn as a horse. So she kind of had to like put an illusion on the unicorn to make it look like a unicorn. And everybody can see like all of the animals are not what they are. So the manticore in these cages is actually just like a really sad lion. And the satyr is just a goat. Satyr is just a goat. And so it's like, this is like the saddest carnival that ever was.
Is it sadder than the lion?
Oh my gosh.
I would say it was sadder than the lion.
I'm leaving.
I thought it was interesting that not only was she running this entire show using all her magic, and she actually captured a harpy, which sounds like it's a huge feat to do. And so she was like on the verge of a breakdown because she was constantly using all of her magic to contain this harpy in a cage. But also, she's running this circus. She's yelling at these two fools to do her bidding. But then she just, at the end of the show, she climbs into a cage and just like is all super creepy at the people and is like scaring them. Like this is like making them fear growing old because she is now old. But I just thought it was like, girl, what else can you be doing at this point? Like the manager is now on an exhibit. Like I was like, that is so silly. And her character was Ellie. So I was just kind of like confused why she did that, but also it was really funny to me anyways.
I thought it was funny too. I think that she just
got a kick out of it or something?
I think she just had fun with it.
Okay.
Because she was able to cast the illusion on herself and do whatever magic it was that puts dread into people.
Yeah,
because she even
scared.
made the unicorn scared. So like she was way more powerful than her job would suggest.
And the unicorn specifically said that Mommy Fortuna is more powerful than she realizes, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, so it's almost a good thing that she uses her magic for the entertainment of the simple masses.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that this kind of like broadens into a topic that I kind of noticed about this book. It seems like this book is someone who's educated telling a story to a child, because some things just don't make sense. Like, why would somebody who is so powerful be in this thing? And it's not for any other reason than that's just the way it is, right? The really powerful witch happens to be in this thing that captured the unicorn, and that she seems very powerful. But once you start to dig into it, why would she be there? Why isn't she courting kings and making those illusions there?
She gets to be the boss here.
That's true. She does.
She gets to run the show. She gets to do kind of whatever she wants. She is her own woman. She gets to like boss around these two dudes and make them do her bidding. She gets to capture these believable mythical creatures. They're not really, but everybody thinks that she did. And that's kind of like a fun self-prestige kind of thing.
I think
She
she also
captured a harpy.
She wants to be a big fish in a little pond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she probably also does it for the money and the fame, because she now is recognized for her
Midnight Circus.
yeah, for her midnight circus and all the crazy animals that she's able to make the people believe that she has captured. She reveled in the attention of people believing that she was able to capture these real things.
That's pretty similar to Schmendrick's thing too, though, where he wants people to believe that he's magical because he isn't reliably magical in reality. So he falls back to these cheap tricks to get the oohs and ahs, and just hides the shame of, oh, I can't actually do anything. So they're kind of like mirrored in that kind of sense, except he's not powerful socially either.
So we talked about Mommy Fortuna, and we've talked a little bit about the unicorn, but we haven't really talked about the writing style so far in the book, and also how those two characters are female. The unicorn is a female in this book, in case we haven't mentioned that. And so we're now introduced to two female characters and two male characters. And what we noticed so far is that the women in this book are way stronger characters than the men. And we thought that was something that we should talk about a little bit more.
Yeah, like hands down, all of the men were bumbling in some kind of way. Like you've got Schmendrick, who's an alcoholic wizard who doesn't do much of anything and is kind of just down on his luck. You've got the other stagehand at this.
Rook?
Sure.
I don't know how to pronounce that.
I forgot his name, but
Just call him Rick.
he's the guy who like he gets told a riddle and he's down for like days. He's just like, I can't
Just
operate,
pondering.
just staring off into the oblivion. Heck, you even have like at one point you have there's a blue jay or something like that, a bluebird, and he goes back home to his wife, and his wife like beats him up. And was like,
Dude, that guy saw a unicorn. He comes back and he's like, babe, I saw a unicorn. And she's like, how's that going to put food on the table? He's like, I can't even have one moment of magic. You nagging me?
I think that whole scene was a joke.
Yeah, I know. It was,
The-
dude, the thing it reminded me of
pecking of the
was
housewife.
the like cutaways, like random, like, I don't know, like Family Guy or something, where they just have like the random cutaway to some other scene for a second and they come back to the book. I don't know. It just seemed made the world a little more like vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if anyone should redo the last unicorn like movie, that should be.
I
that
see
should
where
be
you're
that
going.
crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, just but also like all the characters are Family Guy, like just those characters, and like one person like
Brian is the unicorn.
Brian. Oh,
I figured
goodness.
Stewie would be.
Stewie would be Mommy Fortuna, okay?
That's actually
That's
probably better.
Pretty spot on right there. Yeah, I would. Okay, Stewie would be mad. Yeah. Okay, we shouldn't get into that. But yeah, well, there's a lot of like the strong female characters, and I thought that was really great. And all of the male characters are either some form of like ineptitude, weakness.
Chris, there's straight morons. Some of them, most of them are just
Like
Yeah.
dingbats. One of them so vain he writes his own songs
Oh, yeah,
about
so-
himself.
so
he was
move-
on the 14th stanza of the 19th song.
Yeah.
So moving on past
so-
the midnight circus, they get into a situation where the wizard and the unicorn meet up with a band of bandits. What's the
a group of outlaws.
a group of outlaws? Thank you, Chris.
Band of outlaws, group of bandits. I don't know.
So they meet up with them because the unicorn allows the wizard to journey with her because he helps.
He helps her escape, but he helps her escape in the best way. Okay, I'm sorry that we keep going back to this circus, but I can't help it. This is so great. So he is trying to get on the unicorn's good side because they're birds of a feather for some, he feels. And so he is going to, kind of like how Chris was saying, how the other guy was really susceptible to just like getting confused by riddles and like having to solve them, but never does. He would tell his sidekick guy a riddle, sneak out while the sidekick guy is trying to figure out the answer to the riddle, and then goes to the unicorn's cage and starts to try to magic her out. She can't get out because she's magical and iron bars are anti-magic. And so Schmendrick tries a couple of things. The first thing he tries is he creates a magical illusion of a magical paradise forest. And the unicorn's like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And starts to walk and then gets the sense of iron near her. And she's like, this is not quite right. And so like kind of freezes for a second. And then he's like, okay, yeah, that didn't work. And lets the illusion fall. And it's just like she's still in her cage. So she was like, okay, well, that was cool. Great. Thanks. Dope.
I almost got hurt by the iron. Thanks for nothing.
Exactly. And he's like, no. Don't worry. I got something else. And he like does his little, waves his hands around and is being very magical and wizardly. And he's like, the bars are now brittle as old cheese. And to demonstrate, he goes out and tries to like grab them so he can just crumble them away and let her have an opening. And his hands just start bleeding. He's like, that didn't work either. So he's like, okay, that's okay. I have backup plan number 3. And he like takes some magic flu powder and just sprinkles it on the cage and does some magical words.
And it starts shrinking.
She's like, what the fuck? And she's like looking around and her world is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And she's like, I'm going to be crushed to death by this cage. What the heck is happening? He's like,
you're not helping.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, that didn't work either. Fine. We'll give up on this magic, and just whips out the key and unlocks it and lets her out. Whole time.
Had the key the whole time. And he just wanted to show off that he had magic.
Oh my gosh.
That was so funny. This whole book, I feel like, is just full of these little witty things that are like, oh, gotcha.
His style of magic is hilarious to me. Is like he'll whip up a spell and then retroactively figure out what it did. Like he does something and he's like, wait for it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I meant to make you sandwiches. I turned the water into
More water.
what is that?
Rum.
Yeah. Yes.
Just as I expected.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a total BSer, and he just basically lets magic kind of do whatever the heck it wants. And that's what's great about him.
This guy's an alchemist of magic. He just mixes stuff together and sees what happens.
Alcoholic mix.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed about that particular scene was that he used a riddle from Alice in Wonderland to trick the guy.
Oh, I didn't notice
Yeah,
that.
he uses why is a raven like a writing desk as the riddle that will keep the dingbat occupied for so long. And he's fine. Why is a raven like a writing desk? And I just started busting up. I'm like, there are quite a few like fourth wall breaks in this where it's like, oh no, we're talking about someone who has been to our world or knows something about our world, which is kind of weird going into that. So, but
Do you know why a raven is like a writing desk?
There is no answer to that. There's actually no answer to that. He, the author of Alice in Wonderland, specifically said, "No, I made up that."
Okay, that's pretty.
Dude,
cool,
if
though.
there is no
Lewis
answer
Carroll's
to
like,
that riddle,
"Psych."
that guy is going to end up in an asylum somewhere. That poor man is tortured.
Well, good thing the harpy got to him because otherwise he might have been.
Womp womp womp.
Yeah, they end up releasing all the animals from the menagerie. The spider decides not to go. I keep calling it that. It's the Midnight Carnival. The spider decides not to go. That's why she's crying. But all the other animals get out. So we may encounter the harpy again.
That's actually a good prediction because I was like, oh, she's out and peace, never see her again. I totally forgot about her. But yeah, that's very true. She could be coming back.
They named her too. They named the harpy other than just harpy. She's called Seleno, which is probably some kind of, all of you myth nerds out there, tell us what that is because I did not look it up. But It sounds specific.
It was Seleno the Dark One.
Yeah.
Not just Seleno. Seleno the Dark One. She is not only a name, but a title as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even like a weak title. That's a badass title right there.
She earned that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the unicorn is super scared of the harpy. This harpy is not just some bird person. It's like super powerful.
So I did catch something here. The unicorn specifically tells Schmendrick, never run from an immortal, because that's when they see you. But Schmendrick's an immortal, technically, by spell.
Yeah.
So I think that something's going to try and run from him, and he's going to notice it.
That was actually an
That's
interesting line, because to run from it would be to acknowledge that it exists.
Yeah.
So is that how she's basically saying she knows that there are people that can't see her? So is that an acknowledgement that basically just don't believe in it and there's nothing it can do to you?
So if like you don't believe in something, it doesn't have power over you?
Right. So if it's coming to get you and it sees that it doesn't affect you, it's like, I'll move on. Hey, there's a fraidy cat over there. I'll get him.
Yeah.
Oh, nope. I was looking behind you. I was afraid of the thing behind you.
So there's a couple other immersion breaks in this whole thing. You've got the Mad Hatter's riddle. You've got references to Christ. And later on in the bandithood, they do reference by name Robin Hood.
Yeah.
And we'll get into like how that happens. But do you think those kind of things where something like a fantasy book referencing something from our world, does that ever break immersion for you?
Well, I didn't catch the Alice in Wonderland one because I know that I recognized that riddle, but I didn't know what it was from, so that was fine for me. The Robin Hood one was also fine because I kind of put this in that era of Robin Hood-esque stuff. Because, oh, okay, this must be in the similar style of wood, or like, I don't know, like I just kind of was like, oh, this is around the same time that Robin Hood was a dude and popular. So it didn't really break it. I just felt like, oh, it's just a continuation in the fantasy realm of this generation of stories.
Okay.
I didn't catch the Alice in Wonderland thing because I have not read the book, and I don't even think I've seen the movie, to be honest with you.
Oh, that's something we should do.
Yeah.
The Outlaws compared themselves to Robin Hood quite a bit. And even when we first met them, before they even started talking about Robin Hood, in my mind I was like, oh, okay, the Robin Hood stand-in. And then it's like he predicted that was going to be what I would think, and was like, actually, no, the exact opposite, and like explained exactly why, word for word. Like, we do not rob from the rich and give to the poor. We rob from the poor and give to the rich.
Yeah.
We like we're not like spreading merry joy anywhere. We're miserable out here. And like went through like step by step of everything that makes Robin Hood and was like, we are not that. And so then for Robin Hood to come in was kind of just like the icing on the cake. I thought that was fine. It didn't pull me away at all. It would have almost been more distracting for them to have not mentioned it. I think, for me at least.
Interesting. Okay.
What do you think, Chris?
It does break immersion from me just because it's like it takes me out of the story. But this particular story has that feel of I'm being told a story. It's like a parent telling a child a story, and I'm the child, and I'm getting told this story from somebody who has a lexicon that's much greater than mine, and it's nice. It's nice to be told a story every now and then about something, even if it's ridiculous. And I think it added to the ridiculousness of the story. It's like, okay, well, Madame Fortuna's backstory doesn't need to make sense because everything is silly.
Okay, yeah.
And this is like the Mad Hatter of everything is silly. We're all mad here. And it doesn't need to make 100% sense. It just needs to make enough sense to tell the fairy tale.
Yeah, and I got that sense from the lives of the animals, the random, that the butterfly comes in and it's just going off the rails. But these animals that would otherwise we think don't have interesting lives have an entire little backstory, and they have these experiences that they carry with them, however mundane they may be for whatever it is that they do. I think that was the thing that really, like talking about that, like break in whether it was immersive or not. To me, that really took me into this world, and especially like that worked really well for this book because of the way that the story is told. Like you said, there's a lot of underlying concepts, obviously, that you can take with you, and they're written simply, but the whimsical nature of sharing the extended lives of these little animals for a second, it's funny, but at the same time, it's really interesting.
Let's talk about the actual language of the book and
It's English.
how it's written, because you bring up a good point, babe, where there are so many parts of the story that are silly and whimsical. And then there's also elements of this book that's just written masterfully. Like the details and the descriptions are just gorgeous.
It particularly caught my attention this was at the very beginning of the book where she's kind of dodging this guy that's trying to capture her. And she says something along the lines of, if he caught her, what did he even intend to do with her? I don't even think that, as in this guy that's trying to capture her. And it just made me think of like how many of those things that are beautiful and we try to put up on a shelf that don't belong there, or that we try to take a picture of, and it's like, I shouldn't even have bothered because it doesn't work that way. Like
kind of like when people are filming the concert with their phones. Like, are you ever going to watch that again?
Yeah, and it's not an experience in any way like, oh, I saw that. It's like I was there. I don't know how it's imprinted now into who you are, not just something that you experienced.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first paragraph does a really good job of laying out how this book is going to talk to you. And I'm just going to read it because I think that it's so wonderfully well written. The unicorn lived in the lilac wood, and she lived all alone. She was very old, though she did not know it, and she was no longer the careless color of sea foam, but rather the color of snow falling on a moonlit night. But her eyes were still clear and unwearied, and she still moved like a shadow on the sea. And that is, I think, beautiful, because none of those make any sense, but you can envision all of them.
Yeah.
You get this feeling from every metaphor that he's using of this is right and also weird, like a lilac wood. What does a lilac wood even look like? And then you start kind of picturing it, and you're like, oh, there's
flowers, like wildflowers, and
there's this hint of
enchantment,
weird enchantment on the air and stuff like that. And then she moved like a shadow on the sea. Well, that has a lot of different meaning to it, and it's like you read it and you're just like, wow, this is going to be an interesting way that somebody's going to talk to me.
This is almost like that Picasso thing where you're like, either I don't get it or you are a genius. Because exactly, where it's like you have such a mastery of something that you can make it seem almost simple until you really think about it and you're like, I see what you did there. That was very clever. Like it's almost Shakespearean to me.
Yeah.
Like obviously this is a very, very different era that we're talking about, like language wise, but the way that like phrases are, like he comes up with sayings that even at the time people were like, I don't know what that means, but it sounds great.
Even how Smendrick, the magician, talks to the unicorn. I'm just going to read a little bit from chapter 3. And I totally think that this character is way over dramatic and it's really funny. But the way that he talks is kind of, I think the author is writing him in a way that he's writing the rest of this book. So in chapter 3, he tells the unicorn while she's still in the iron bars at the carnival, "It's a rare man who is taken for what he truly is. There is much misjudgment in the world. Now, I knew you for a unicorn when I first saw you, and I know that I am your friend. Yet you take me for a clown or a clod or a betrayer, and so must I be if you see me so. The magic on you is only magic, and will vanish as soon as you are free. But the enchantment of air that you put on me, I must wear for forever in your eyes. And this is a guy who is does not have reliable magic and is really silly, but that's just what he says. And he talks like that often, and I'm like, oh, he's so dramatic, but God, that is so beautiful.
That's kind of like a more flowery way of saying kind of what I say all the time. Perception is more important than reality.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you think I'm crazy, then I must be crazy.
It's so much harder. You actually can't. It's like impossible to change anybody else's mind once it's made up about how they view you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just thought it was so interesting how this book has those like moments of just like, wow, this is way above my skills of writing. And then there's these really like weird parts where there's like, it's so silly and they go out of like breaking the fourth wall and talking about other things. And I think it's just so different.
They did that in one thing on, I don't even know what chapter I'm on, but they're talking about some bowmen, and said effortlessly proud, graceful as giraffes, even the tallest among them, the kind-eyed blunderbore. The bowmen moved across the clearing, and I was like, I don't know what that means to be graceful as a giraffe. I always imagined giraffes to be kind of clunky.
Yeah,
but all right,
maybe that was the point.
But
I mean, that's,
he calls himself out on it though too, because in one of the little songs that Captain Cully sings about himself, he says, "What ails you that you sigh so deep? Is it for the loss of your lady fair, or are ye but scabbard in your griep? I am the scabbard, whatever that means, and my griep is as well as a griep may be." And he's like, "What the heck are you talking about? I'm not any of those things. I have no idea what that means, but I'm not that." We're just like, oh, that's so funny. Because I was kind of getting to that point too, where I was like, does he know what he's talking about when he's writing these things? And that told me yes.
I feel like this guy is a fan of Monty Python.
Yeah.
He's got to be. That like tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, one of my favorite moments to illustrate that point was when there's everyone's coming back from the woods after running after Robin Hood, and there's the conversation between these two dudes where basically one of them's saying like, "Oh, I can't believe you guys fell for that." And he's like, "You were running with us too." He's like, "Well, yeah, but I knew that this wasn't like." He's like, "Well, you didn't have to come with us." He's like, "Well, yeah, but you never know. I could be wrong." Where it's like complete contradiction that.
It's just so funny.
It is,
all of
yeah.
these little interactions, like they're using such elevated language that sometimes you miss the joke, or I did at least. But if you give it like a second of thought, you're like, oh, that's pretty sneaky. That's
yeah,
funny.
and that was like the Shakespearean thing again, where it's like he has these jokes written in the way that he says something, and it's almost sometimes it almost sounds complimentary. And you're like, oh, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait.
Did you
second.
compliment me or insult me? I need to know.
Or both?
Thank you, I guess.
I'm leaving. I'm confused.
A bunch of stuff happens, and the Schmendrick and the unicorn end up hanging out with this band of merry men who end up not being very merry, led by this guy named Captain Cully. And Cully is very into himself. He is very pat himself on the back. He makes up his own epics about himself so that he'll go down in history for at least the people in his circle. And it's just like, you can't trust other people to write your story for you. This is me, baby. And all of his crew is like, that's not you. You're none of those things. These are all lies.
He's competing with Robin Hood almost. It's like, well, I think he's just jealous. He's jealous of his fame and he wants that too. So he's like, if nobody else is going to write songs about me, I might as well do it.
And he's like waiting for like a critic of songs or something to come up and so he can sing the songs to him.
He's waiting for a record deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they keep saying that the wizard claimed to be this song collector named Child, but that's only who Coley was hoping that this guy was, who the magician really was. And the entire time, the the magician is like, no, that's not me.
Not me.
But then he says it so many times that the rest of the outlaws believe that the magician is actually this song collector child. And
Yes, speaking of Shakespeare, methinks the lady doth protest too much. That was what happened. So they were all like, oh, yeah, he's saying no, he's not the record guy, but he definitely is the record guy.
If you're saying no that many times,
This is
you
an
must be
audition.
actually that guy.
yeah, to the point that they actually tie him up and they believe that they need to like, he's like hiding something and they need to take him to King Hagrid. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. King Hagrid. And he's like, do you guard him the night, Cully, while I sleeps. And in the morning, it's me and old Haggard to see what his boy's worth to him. Happen we'll all be gentlemen of leisure in a month's time. So not only do they think that it's him, the magician is faking and he's actually the song collector, but then after the whole, like, they do this, like, he does like this enchantment where Robin Hood shows up. So all the outlaws go try to find Robin Hood and follow along and be a part of his merry band. And Coley and Jack are still stuck with the wizard. And Jack tells Coley to watch over the wizard over the night. And he's tied up to a tree at this point.
And the tree falls in love with him.
Yes. And so the tree falls in love with him. And he has to, like, convince the tree that it was not going to work out between them. This is another section that I think is just so funny. Like, it's so random. But Coley ends up falling asleep after his, like, 13th stanza of him, like, singing his own songs that he wrote about himself.
He's like mid-song, right? And he just passes out.
Yeah. And then the unicorn comes because she's been watching on the sidelines, like, just like laughing because this guy's ridiculous. And she frees him from the tree with her horn. And then they're, like, kind of walking off and they're like, all right, we're going to go see this King Haggard guy on our own because apparently we'll get some answers because he has this, like, red bull protecting his castle. And I'm hearing all of this weird rumors that he's somehow connected to the last of the unicorns. And so they're on their way, and it happens to be the wrong way.
The butterfly in the beginning told the unicorn about the Red Bull.
Yes, and then also Mommy Fortuna mentioned the Red Bull as well.
Yeah, so that's lots of flags are getting raised.
Yeah, they're like, go in the direction of the bull, or don't. Please don't.
And then Molly marches over, and she's like, that wasn't very nice. I don't think she actually says that, but she sees the unicorn for what she really is. But I'm like, Molly's not a virgin. So how does she see this unicorn?
Well,
or is she?
She might be.
Also raged out.
Yeah, she was like super pissed.
I think that was kind of nice. Actually, it was kind of refreshing. It's like, you have no right to show up now after my life is ruined. Why are you showing up now? How freaking dare you? And I thought that was really appropriate for someone who middle-aged, life's broke down, and
now is living with outlaws.
And then Prince Charming, or in this case, the unicorn shows up.
I do like the like unicorn's style where it's like, I have no regrets. Like, I don't know.
She doesn't give a fuck.
No, it's not. It's just, she's like things happen the way they happen.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I don't really understand why Molly thought the unicorn owed her anything. Like, I didn't really understand the whole freak out.
I think Chris hit it on the head. That's why, because her life has just been hanging out with these dudes that stink probably, and just every day is a grind. And she's like, that's definitely the words of a very bitter person.
Yeah, it's like.
But I get your point though. But
it's like the idea of, now, after all that I've been through, now why didn't you show up sooner? Why couldn't you have spared me all this? And no, the unicorn, I don't think she thought the unicorn owed her anything. She was just, I think she wasn't mad at the unicorn. I think she was mad at fate. Of that idea that, like, why in the heck would this come now? Why not earlier, before?
And she was just taking it out on the unicorn.
Yeah. She was
But yeah,
just-
I
she was
felt the
just
same way
mad.
too, Kelly, where I was like, the unicorn doesn't owe you anything. What do you?
Like, what do you expect the unicorn to do? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I also don't really understand what would have been different if the unicorn had come any earlier. Like, okay, you saw it.
Yeah, changed fate.
Mm-hmm. Well, also when they started, so Molly started traveling with the unicorn and the wizard, and the wizard, in his dramatic way that he is, he says, "The rain that renewed Molly did not fall on him, and he seemed ever more parched and deserted, like the land itself." So Molly, once she gets away from the outlaws and she starts traveling with them, she starts to become almost a different person, like probably her own person, and kind of more childlike and nature girl. And I think she had that freak out with the unicorn and was like, why now? And then afterwards she was because the unicorn was accepting of her traveling with them, she was able to embrace her virginness. No, I'm just kidding. She was able to embrace the childlike nature and fantasy of believing in unicorns and that things will work out, and more hopeful for the future. And now she had a different purpose for righteousness. And I feel like that definitely changed her. She broke out of that like ragged, rugged shell of being an outlaw. But also,
she definitely keeps her attitude.
oh yeah. But also the wizard is like, nope, this isn't changing me. I'm still the most bitter person I've ever been.
Mandrake has some real bard
Mandrake's
vibes.
not necessarily bitter. He's just like, man, this is the way things are. I mean, I
He's
don't.
depressed, okay?
He
depressed.
is shaking because he hasn't had alcohol in 12 hours.
Yeah. It's like, that's the reason the rain doesn't touch him, is because he's trying to transform it into alcohol.
And then they journey
To Hag's Gate.
to Hag's Gate.
Now, the land around Hag's Gate is all like beat to crap, right? So it's like cursed land. And then they get to Hag's Gate and it is gorgeous.
And they're like, what the fuck? What's going
The
on?
town
This
is
is not what we expected.
beautiful and not many people around, like not anybody on the street or anything like that. And they finally go up and talk to people. And these people are like, this town is under a curse and all that. Happy
They're
stuff.
looking around like, no. There are
I-
trees and waterfalls. Doves are flying by.
and they're
I hear a
cursed.
song on the wind. Like, you're not cursed. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and they explain it. They're like, we're cursed with good fortune, but like
The
every
tiniest
Boo-hoo.
violin plays in the distance.
yeah. And so this town is basically a bunch of superstitious people. And what I think we should talk about is, do you think that this is a self-fulfilling prophecy?
Dude, I was like, this is a absolutely brilliant curse to give someone everything and then to say that something from within you is going to take all of this away. Now, every single day as you have everything you could possibly want, the only thing you can think of is that one day something that you bore will take this from you. So you cannot take joy in it whatsoever. You are always on alert because this will go away. Like he said, that you cannot get attached to anything. You can't, it's like you have to almost remind yourself that you need to get used to struggling because one day you're going to go back. It's almost like this is actually something I thought about, where if you see somebody that's self-made, like rags to riches kind of thing, I wonder if that person still thinks like one day this could all go away, versus somebody that was born into it and they're like, this is what it is. And then, but having no frame of reference for what having nothing is. I don't know that I could ever not have that mindset of like, no matter what I had, it could always go away.
It's like those kids who get adopted and we're in the system long enough that they've started like rationing food and stuff like that.
Right.
And then they just keep doing that for a long time after that. I hear those stories. It's like that. I mean, that leaves an impact on you, right?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And then there's also like, okay, if you know everything can go away at any given second and you're going to have all of your riches and all of your, what you find valuable to be taken away from you, do you really want to have a kid? And they bring that up. That's dark.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. But it's also like, I think this is almost like a joke on them because that's just real life.
Yeah. Like everything's going to go away eventually.
Yeah.
But it was basically told to them by the witch, it will go away. And they were like, oh no, it's a witch.
It's like I forget who it was, but basically there was this like fortune teller guy that the king was gonna have executed, and he's like, I'll tell you the day you're gonna die, the day after I do. The king's like, well then, I'll have a room put up for you, and yeah,
Long life be to you, good sir.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah.
That's a great scam. I love that.
And again, all it takes is just a little bit of doubt that you do or don't believe in something, and you're like, I don't really believe, but I also don't want to push it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be the first person to find out that this guy was actually, he did have the sight.
That's why I never do Bloody Mary 3 times in the mirror.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Just in case. See, what you should be doing is like the Bloody Mary 3 times in the mirror, but you're driving at 60 miles an hour and you're looking at the mirror in the rear view. And so she appears back there and you're just like, ha, goodbye.
Bye. It has to be foggy because of hot water running, though, right? Like the mirror has to. So you have to breathe.
Breathe on your mirror.
Steam up your mirror.
Yeah.
Chris,
I mean,
you're
there's
not
better,
only inviting
there's better ways to steam up a mirror.
Bloody Mary into your life, but now she's a backseat driver. You're just driving this.
Oh, shit. She shows up in the car.
Taco Bell.
Be like, all right. I got
The
super.
unholiest of places.
No,
and
you
you're
have
paying.
you have the power too because you're driving. You're like, well, if you're gonna scare me, I'm still in control of the car. So
Brake
you
check Bloody Mary.
through the windshield.
I'd be like, I bet you don't know about seatbelts. That curse has been around since before seatbelts were a thing. So Schmender gets
you
completely
think you're
trashed in the
spooky?
town.
What did you say, Chris?
So Schmender gets completely trashed in the town per
yeah.
the usual, and he starts drinking so much that like the guys are like
Nope.
trying to keep the wine away from him, and he just starts pouring it himself, and he's getting sloppy drunk.
And these guys are like kind of wanting them to drink too, because they're trying to tell the story of their town, and they're providing the embellishments for the evening, and even who are trying to convince these people of their plight. Even they're like,
You shouldn't have that.
we're gonna have to call you on this one, I think. Do you need a place to sleep? Like, ooh.
And so they don't want this curse to end. They want them to kill the king, right?
Yeah.
The king's son.
Oh, the king's son. Right.
Yeah, because
I
they
missed
think the
that part.
king's son is the one that's going to turn on them. But I thought that was so interesting. That's the first time that I've heard of that is we have a curse and we don't want it broken. Keep
We're
us
good.
cursed.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it. Like, why would you go to all this trouble to suffer and not take advantage of the bounty if you're just going to want to keep the curse?
They want to remain cursed and then complain about. They don't even take advantage of how good they have it. They just sit around and complain about how one day it's going to all go away.
One of the town's people, his name is Drin, who's talking about the town's curse and everything. And he's supplying the wizard with wine, and then the wizard is like completely taking over his offering. And so Drin is like, hey, we like it how it is, even though it sucks. And we're thinking that actually the king's son is the one that's going to like fuck us all over. So can you like kill him? That would be great.
Not for free, buddy.
Yeah. How about
Not for
lot
a
of
meal
money?
and a glass of wine.
Yeah. Cheapskate.
And so
He
then
says drinking their wine.
Oh, seriously.
This stuff is terrible.
So he negotiates
Some
with
more.
him.
Let me do you a favor and take it off your table for you.
Oh yeah. And so they kind of go back and forth on money wise, but like basically the wizard, who's super smashed, ends up getting a shit ton of money from this guy to go kill the prince. And then when the wizard leaves with Molly and he's all like laughing at himself and he's like, ha ha ha, I'm actually not going to do that. I'm just gonna take this money.
Take the money and run.
Yeah. And then there's like assassins that are following them. And I was like, okay, so I was a little confused. Does Drin really want the prince to be slain? Or does he just want the outsiders out of their town because they're just as scared of outsiders bringing on this curse I was a little confused. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, here's what I think actually happened, though, because they wouldn't have known that the unicorn was going to join them, and they were definitely pre-planned assassins. So they're following Molly and Schmendrick through the streets. I think that their plan, because there is magic on the coins, I think that their plan was to follow them until they killed the prince, then kill them so they could take their money back.
Oh, okay.
Refund.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the first rule of hiring an assassin is kill the assassin after it's done.
Yeah, but I just felt like they were gaining on them like so quickly.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly has the best, like, little, when they introduce Lee Van Cleef's character, and he's going to kill a guy that he was already paid to kill. And the guy's laying in bed, and he's like, well, how much did they pay you to kill me? He's like, I'll double it if you kill the whoever sent you. And he's like, hey, I'll take you up on that. Double to go back and kill that guy. I need to go see him anyway. But you know that as a professional, once I accept the contract, I have to follow through because his name is how he makes a living. I mean, you're not going to get word of mouth, assassin work if you don't follow through. So the guy's like, at first they're kind of laughing about it. And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll go take care of him. So I do have to follow through. And the guy's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And of course he kills him, and he's like, and he grabs the money that he was going to pay him to go kill the other guy. And he's like, sweet, I got another gig out of this.
And then he goes and kills that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Gotta keep my word. That's how, word
I
of
think
mouth is.
Witcher did that too in the books. Like I believe that there's a scene with that. And then also that kind of stuff happens in John Wick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always kill the assassin. Always kill the assassin. You just got to make sure that they're taken care of.
I really like the money trick, though.
Yeah.
I thought
The
that
money
was
screams.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're like, oh, we lost track of Schmendrick and Molly. They didn't know the names, but you know who we're talking about. The assassins were looking, they kind of lost track of them, and they're like, ugh, how are we gonna find them? I know, let me just say these magical words. And the money starts screaming.
Like responds back to the magical words, we love Timmy, or whatever his name
Yeah.
is.
Drin, right?
We
Yeah.
love Drin.
Yeah.
We love Drin. They're like, oh, there's the money.
Yeah, that
Which
was
is everything in this book is so delightful.
Okay, so POV, you are the unicorn. You're running to the assassins and you kill them.
Okay, I'm in.
And then you turn around and you see King Haggard's castle is on fire. And then you see this light coming towards you. And it's actually this red bull that is charging. What do you do?
Drink it and get wings.
Fly away. And now I'm a Pegasus.
Yeah.
Later.
I think you'd be a pegacorn. What do I do? I would follow my own advice and not run from an immortal.
Smart.
That would be wise.
But that's not what she
That
does.
is not what she does.
But yeah, so the bull appears on the scene and she bolts and he chases her down and starts trying to herd her back to the castle.
Which is where they were going anyways.
Yeah, but you want to walk in the front door. You don't want to be like shuffled in the side entrance. you
Yeah.
know?
Or you want to go on your own terms, especially when you're going to kill
Oh,
y-
yeah.
and or investigate. Like, you don't want the person to be like bringing you in there as a prisoner, right?
Yeah. And or find the other unicorns. And so if you're getting shuffled in there a specific way, that's probably how the other unicorns disappeared.
Oh, totally.
So
It is kind of curious that the bull is herding her to the castle and the outlaws were going to bring all of them to the castle, the wizard to the castle. And I just feel like everyone is talking about this king's castle and
Sounds like the castle's place to be.
yeah.
Except
But you are right. They need to just walk in on their own and not be like brought in by some other people.
you just sneak in. like,
Yeah.
Figure out how to sneak.
So the sun starts to rise and they realize that the bull does not like that.
And
And
it's becoming like transparent or something.
yeah. So I
it's
was
a werewolf, werebull.
So before the bull goes, though, the unicorn is thinking that she can't get away, and everybody around her thinks that she can't get away from the bull, and the bull is going to get her. So the magician works his magics and he's like, okay, just do whatever you want, magic. I'll let you do your thing.
And that's how he does his most powerful spells.
Yeah, he just like sits back and's like, okay, you do what you do.
Use me.
Use me as your conduit, magic force.
Yes.
I'm here for it.
Yes. And
Do what you will with me.
and then the unicorn turns into a woman. I need to turn her into something that's not going to be pursued by a bull, like a magical creature.
The bull was looking specifically for the unicorn, so he was like, just make her not a unicorn. So actually, maybe his magic is like genie powers. Where,
like
you make a wish.
monkey paw.
A monkey paw.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
So
You make a wish and you get exactly what you wished for, but you don't get to say how that happens.
So only a lawyer could be like, well, hold on, let me write out the terms for this.
Exactly.
yeah.
So when the unicorn gets turned into a human, I thought this was actually a pretty funny part. She is horrified. She thinks that she's super ugly and she's getting really depressed and she doesn't even want to go through life anymore. And she's like, I was better off with the bull.
I liked it when she first
me.
stood up. She first stood up and she was like, "Meow," and she tried to like walk around and
Yeah,
was
she
holding
does
her hand.
T-Rex hands.
Yeah, and they describe it, and she's just like, "It's like what's going on?"
She's
and
like
she's
a
just
horse
freaking
girl.
out.
Oh, God.
Yeah, how would you feel if you got turned from a human into a horse? You would fall over because you try to stand upright and have horse hands. It would be awkward for everyone.
The bigger issue is that now she's a human. And if she's a human, that means she's mortal for the first time in her multitude of years.
Well, I mean, she had discussed that she can be killed, but
Yes,
not.
but-
she's not aging. That was the
Yeah.
immortal thing. So now she aged like 1 second, and she's pissed.
Yeah, she's like, I'm rotting from the inside out. I feel it.
She is as much of a drama queen as any of the rest of them in this party, and it is great.
That just proves that she's actually an animal because all of our pets would have the same reaction to
They're
any
just-
minor inconvenience.
Oh, totally.
You feed the cats 5 minutes late, and they're just like, "Why have you starved me for my entire life?" And you're just like, "Chill out." You're like, "Drama." Flop over.
I feel like now the wizard understands the unicorn, though. Like, I feel like now they have a special bond because they're both dramatic and depressed.
They are both dramatic and depressed.
But this adds an interesting element, though, because now they have to keep her alive. Whereas the unicorn, as a horse, could hold her own because she also had like magical powers. We don't know that the human version doesn't have magical powers, but
She just got a flower on her head.
she's certainly a little softer,
Fleshy.
a little squishier.
She doesn't have those like razor sharp claws that she tore apart the assassins with.
Or her horn, which would kill dragons and all the other things you said in the beginning of the
Knock
episode.
down chestnuts for bear cubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things.
The first half of the book section ends with the quote, very faintly, for the first time, the smell of the sea came to her. What did you guys think about that?
Neat.
I think it's interesting because I think that the longer you live, the less you care about things. I'm not even that old, but that certainly has proven true for certain like social situations, especially. You just care less. And I think that if you lived many, many lifetimes, you wouldn't even notice things anymore. But I think that now that she has this fear of death and aging and everything else, which is a recurring theme actually, because
Mommy Fortuna's thing,
Yeah. Now that she has this hyper awareness of her own mortality, everything else is coming into clearer color too. It's like having the capability of dying isn't the worst thing in the world because it makes everything a little bit spicier.
See, and I kind of thought that it just meant that she lived in her little forest forever, and she has never been out to the sea.
Oh.
And now she's on a cliffside by the sea.
Now
maybe?
she's like near the sea, so she finally gets to smell it. But she's smelling it with human nostrils, and that makes her sad.
I like Kelly's thoughts on that because actually now that she says that about she's noticing things because now she's feeling her mortality, literally every character, including the butterfly in this book, there's mention of the butterfly only lives, like, it's too bad that they only live for so long. And even Molly is like upset that the unicorn now in her like 30s is now that she's middle aged. And I mean, I just feel like there's
God, guys, we should retire.
Yeah, seriously, let's retire. All the characters in this, I want to know how old this author was when he wrote this book. Maybe that was something that he was going through, and so therefore it translated into his characters.
There is a little bit of a paragraph here that struck a chord. So it says, often then between the rush of one breath and the reach of another, it came to her that Schmendrick and Molly were long dead, King Haggard as well, and the Red Bull met and mastered, so long ago that the grandchildren of the stars that had seen it all happen were withering now, turning to coal, and that she was still the only unicorn left in the world. So a being that is immortal can see all of this happen. This is all of the things happening now are just a memory. The things that will happen tomorrow are just a memory. She can see, she will see it all. And like the idea of like the stars dying and she's still going, like, I don't know. It's that idea like of, and like of relativity where if you can make time stand still, you can see every event, past and present. Time has no meaning. Like a ray of light, the time means nothing to it. It will see the beginning and the end of the universe in the blink of an eye.
I feel like in that section, she's starting to develop feelings, though, for Molly and the wizard, because I think there was another section there where she's like, that she was weary of human beings, but watching her companions as they slept, seeing the shadows of their dreams scurry over their faces, she would feel herself bending under the heaviness of knowing their names.
He was 29 when he published this one.
Wow.
Drama.
Yes. Wow, that's surprising.
I was going through it.
Yeah, seriously.
Fresh out of college, be like, you know what I'm going to write? I'm going to write some good stuff.
This was good stuff.
This was really good. Stuff. Thoughts on this section. I really dig it. I think this is going to be a book that I reread, just based on this section, because I'm missing things, and I know I'm missing them. I know I'm missing some of those little jabs and stuff like that. And so I think that this is one of those books that I'm going to keep around for a while. So my first half, my thoughts, my feelings, 2 thumbs up.
Yeah. There's a reason that we keep reading right from the book, and it's because we can't say it any better than it's been said. I think this is the most excerpts we've ever thrown into an episode.
Yeah.
There's no other way to explain what's going on. This is beautiful. I really like this story. I really like how funny it is without being slapstick. I really like how Juan was saying those little asides with the forest creatures just giving their own 2 cents. All of the characters have really interesting personalities, and I could see them all having backstories even if we don't hang out with them for very long. Like, this is a really cool world built. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Same.
That's all.
Same.
Ditto.
Ditto.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome because I feel like this is one of the first like classic fantasy books I've read, and I feel like, wow, I was just really missing out. I should really pay more attention to these sort of classic books.
Yeah, I'm really glad this is one of the first books I've read.
You're spoiled.
There's nowhere to color in the lines, though.
Yeah, well, there was, I kind of colored the cover.
What? Because that's mine.
Well, you got a little piece of artwork.
Okay. What are your guys' predictions for the last half of the book?
Okay. Kelly's prediction.
I'm writing it down this time.
Okay.
Kelly's prediction was that the Harpy was going to show back up, right?
The Harpy's showing back up for sure. I think that the Red Bull is a werewolf. Bull.
Werewolf.
I think that they're going to get into the castle and they're going to meet the king, and he's not going to be what they expect. I don't know what that means, but I think that he's not going to be what they expect. And they're going to team up with the king and save the day. And the unicorn will find a friend. I think there'll be one more unicorn. Maybe a baby unicorn. That would be nice.
Okay, so I think that they're going to get to the castle because that's where everybody's going. Got to get to the castle. And then King Haggard is going to be the Red Bull. He is the Red Bull. And he turns into the Red Bull at night and tries to capture unicorns. And then the unicorns are all still alive in the dungeon. I'm gonna make a prediction that they're there in the dungeon, that they got to be freed, and that Molly is gonna end up with the prince.
I don't know why I have such a bleak outlook, but I don't think the unicorn's gonna find any other. I think it's gonna find out that it is the last unicorn, but I guess maybe it's gonna be the collective unicorn that we all think of. Like that's the last unicorn is the one that we all refer to. I think Schmendrick is gonna maybe not master what he's doing, but have a little bit more insight to how to control it. I don't know what to think about the Red Bull though. I don't know. I thought about maybe it is the king also, but there was something alluding to it was like part of the castle. I don't know. I'm not even gonna touch that thing. I'm just gonna. We'll see how that unfolds.
Okay, my prediction is that the Red Bull is the prince.
Okay.
And they're going to team up with the king and try to figure out this curse on the castle and on the town. And they're going to find out what happened to the unicorns. But I also think she is the last unicorn.
Okay. We'll see. Predictions are in. This is where we're folding the page corner. If you're going to be buddy reading with us, we're going to pick back up on page 154, the beginning of chapter 9. But for now, that's all we've got for the last unicorn. Buddy read with us on GoodReads and Instagram at Dog-Eared Discourse, or view our reading schedule for the year on our website at dogeareddiscourse.com. Thanks for listening.